Mic check 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3.
The date on this still says.
Mic check 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, just proud of the way the guys responded on Saturday night. It was a crazy game. We jumped out to a big lead, had some opportunities to put the game away, but wasn't able to do it. And unfortunately for us, Jermaine made a huge play at the end of the game to seal the victory. So now we're heading into week 4, going to Montana. And they have a really good team this year, number 11 in the country. They only lost one homecoming game in the last 23 years, so be a big challenge for our guys. And we got to have a great week of practice to be ready for that challenge.
When you watch the game, Phil, have you been able to make any sense of that game because of just offense gets really hot, slows down, defense does really good, and then kind of slows down?
We're finding different ways to win. Last week, our offense had 0 explosive plays, and they drove the ball all game, the whole entire game. So it's just we have different ways to win. So that's the mark of a good team. You watch North Dakota State; they win 50-44, they win 23-21, they win 10-7. You don't know what the game's going to bring, but you guys got to respond and come out on top at the end of the game.
Now, Montana, a whole different beast. How are you guys how are you preparing this week to just kind of get ready for the crowd?
We start out at Utah, so that's a good test. So I think we'll be ready for the crowd noise, and we only had 3 penalties at Utah, and one of them was a delay of game that we chose to get. So I think we'll be ready for the crowd. It's going to be something different that our guys haven't experienced yet, as far as being in Montana with that atmosphere on homecoming. But we got a lot of guys that just want to go play some football.
With the whole bulletin board material last week, how are you guarding against just a letdown? Probably not getting that this week from the other team.
We've only lost one time in 23 years at homecoming, so I don't think there's any even added motivation that we need. We know we're up against a difficult challenge, and so we're gonna have to have a great week of practice to be ready for it.
Kind of the same thing with the Portland State game last week with the respect issue. You didn't get Montana on your schedule last year. Is that something that you guys are using?
No, definitely. This is a game that we've always talked about. We talk about, can we win when the schedule's tough, when we're not sneaking up on anybody. They know we're a good team, and they're a great team, and these are the type of games that you kind of propel your program. So we know what's at stake. This is a great opportunity for our guys to go out there and make a statement, and we know how difficult it's going to be once we go to Missoula.
Patrick, you said, I think after your first SUU game here, that was the biggest crowd you've ever played against. Are you excited to go play against 20,000 plus?
Yeah, definitely. It's a different experience, and I'm definitely up for the challenge.
Have you heard stories if your teammates told you about Missoula at all?
Not really. This is my first time ever hearing about it, so looking forward to it.
Now, how were you able to respond after you had that 2 early picks on Saturday? What were your teammates telling you on the sideline?
Everybody just pretty much stayed positive, and they pretty much kept me up to just get back out there and just do what I can do, the best I can do.
Is that hard to stay positive when you have such a rough start to the game like that?
I mean, of course you want to start better than that, but sometimes, it don't always go your way, so you got to be able to adapt.
Now, Montana's been putting up some major points. Are you looking forward to a little bit of a shootout potentially here?
We could just control what we could control. We just got prepared this week. Just be ready for it.
Rayshawn, switching from receiver to running back feels like back and forth. Was it nice to have just a game that you finally got to showcase your speed on Saturday?
Yeah, it was very nice. I mean, I think I did that way before, at Nevada, I showcased it on the 80-yard run. So, but it's always nice to get a long run.
Now, how are you and Malik kind of working together on this?
I think we're working very well. It's from Saturday we did a 1-2 punch thing. We both got over 100 yards. We both had over a 50-yard run. So it's I think we're working very well back there.
Now, just kind of go over, because I know you came or you were you were in that receiver, and then it looks like you've switched over to running back full time. Just talk about that and just how that transition's been.
I'm pretty much, they told me I was moving back because it started when we was in fall camp, and I was playing running back, and I go back to slot. but then we didn't really have a solid backup because one of our running backs like kind of got hurt and it was like almost a serious injury. So like I came over there and started helping, but I mean I've been playing running back all my life, so it's like kind of it's no different, and I'm used to it. It's like I'm comfortable back there.
Now, talk about the Montana matchup. You guys does this team get you guys a little more juiced up?
Not really. I mean, we just coming in just for another game. I don't look at it as, oh, they're a big school. I mean, they're a big school, but it's like, we're a team, we're a team. We both got to lace up our cleats the same way. We got to, like, play the same game. Only thing different is it's a big crowd, but that really don't matter. We all play football the same way, so we just come here to play, try to get a W and get back to Cedar City.
Coach, when it comes to their receivers, are you excited to see your defensive backs and see how they stack up against these guys?
Yeah, I mean they got a guy that had 21 catches last week. They had another guy that had a 75-yard touchdown a couple weeks ago. So they got some weapons. A quarterback 6'7", very strong arm. A lot different than Caressa. This is a different handful. But this guy is much more accurate, much stronger arm. So it's going to be a different challenge for our defense. Now it's a guy that's going to stick in the pocket and make some good throws. So balls will be out. It's going to be sideline to sideline. There'll be a lot of plays on Saturday, and so our guys got to be ready for that.
Not having faced these guys or faced Gustafson before, like, just talk about him and what do you see from this kid?
Just a quick decision maker, very accurate, strong arm. He could throw the comeback to the field. He could do a lot of things that normal quarterbacks don't do. And I mean, he's a prototypical NFL guy. I think 6'7", 235, huge guy. So again, not as much QB run, but we are going to have to cover the whole field, sideline to sideline, because they spread those receivers out really wide and try to spread your defense thin.
How challenging is this for your defense at this point? Because it feels like you're placing a completely different offense like every week so far.
That's FCS football. That's college football in general, especially in the Big Sky. So I know this week's going to be spread out, and then Davis is going to come and bring her back in, 21 personnel, and try to run down your throat. So it's every week's a challenge. You got to kind of you have a base defense, and hopefully work around by game plan to make sure you guys are in the right spot.
Tyler won the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week yesterday. After being kind of called out from Portland State, how special was that for him to experience that?
I'm pretty sure it was pretty special. That's a guy that's been playing for us for a long time, but was behind Killebrew, and now he's moved into a starting role, and he's got 3 interceptions in the first 3 games. So I think that was a big moment for him, and especially after getting called out by the coach.
Is that one of those awards, like obviously he had a great game on Saturday, but does that kind of just help him with his confidence going forward, do you think?
It's an everyday game. Life's an everyday deal. So if you're not locked in the next day, I don't know if you could really carry in momentum over. So he's got to get back to work and try to get better for this upcoming game, because there's a whole new set of challenges that he's going to have to face this week.
Is there any different challenges with flight games versus bus trips?
We haven't been very good on flights until last year. We won a couple last year, so yeah, it's a little different. You don't know exactly if the plane's going to be on time. It's not like a bus. You could pretty much guarantee what's going to happen when you get on the bus. On the plane, you got to check in, and sometimes it takes longer than others, and then you got to get to the buses. So it's a little different going on the flight, but like he said, it's just another game.
But like, you've been around the Big Sky a while. Is like the name Montana? Is that anything more meaningful?
Yeah, that's what we want to be every time. When I took over, we want to be talking the same breath as Montana and Eastern Washington. This is our opportunity to put that on for the whole country to see that we're just as good as these guys. And no, this is a huge game, and I'm not going to underestimate the importance of this game. Our guys, we talked about it yesterday. They know how important this game is for our brand, for our program, and you don't get too many opportunities to go into Missoula with 2 ranked teams and go try to get a win. So it doesn't happen very often, and we're trying to do something that's not common. Everybody wins home games versus tough teams, but to go on the road and do it in that environment, that'll be something special. So
I've heard horror stories of the sideline size there. Is there a way to prepare for that? I've never been on the sideline, so okay. I'm not sure. I've been in the box the last time I went up there, so
it'll be all a new experience for me too.
Well, yeah, like I know Bozeman was terrible, but like I've heard it was like half the size of that. So
Yeah, Bozeman wasn't too bad. It was
Yeah.
just some rude comments, I guess, by the crowd during the game. That was about all I remember.
Patrick, when you're preparing for a team like this, is it different than preparing for like just like Portland State, Southeast Louisiana?
Well, we talk about just every week, just being able to adapt really to a different team. So, of course, we're going to approach it different because they're a different team. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about that.
But not like the atmosphere or anything. You're not.
Definitely, of course, you gotta adapt to the crowd too, because of course it's gonna be bigger or whatever. But yeah, I would say it's just you just have to be able to adapt.
Now, when it comes to your offense, it looks, as Coach Warren kind of alluded to, that you've won in different ways. You've played different ways. Is that tough for you guys to have like almost a different game plan every week going in, like almost a new offense? It looks like.
Oh well, you gotta be able to adapt to the defense. So we got to go in with a game plan based off what the defense gives us. But we got to start better and of course finish better. So we just got to get better at that.
And like, how are you feeling right now? Are you getting a little more confident as the weeks go on?
It's getting there. It's not all the way there. Once we can start and finish the game better, then I'll be a lot more confident.
Were you ever like? Obviously not the best start. Were you ever nervous that they were gonna pull you out on last Saturday?
Nah, not really. We believe in each other, and that's what it's all about, is believing in each other. So at the end of the day, you can't think negative. I'm a big believer in always thinking positive, so I just had a positive mindset.
So take us through that big 90-yarder to Mike that kind of just opened everything up in that second quarter.
We had practice that all week. That was a play specifically for them, and it worked out perfect. So that was a plus to see it actually go the way it went.
Was that just like a big relief for you? Like, okay, we're over.
It gave us a little to settle down, not settle down, but like the energy. It definitely was an energy builder.
Now, when it comes to what you experienced on Saturday with the crowd at SUU, do you think that'll help you be like, hey, I've now been in a crazy environment and an atmosphere when it comes to playing Montana?
It was a little crazy, but I understand, like, we're going to their stadium now, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit crazier, and especially it being their homecoming, so we got to be ready for that.
What are the challenges of playing a team on homecoming?
I mean, you've seen it last week. That crowd was amazing here in Cedar. The crowd gets behind it. A ton of alumni. It means a little bit more to the players just because they got a lot of friends and family, and they see the older guys that have been through the program. So it's it just gives you a little bit more motivation, a little bit more purpose for the home team. And so to be able to come in and ruin that is very difficult. And Portland seen that last week. It was, as hard as they fought back, somehow, some way we pulled it off. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be difficult. This will be something special if we could pull this one off.
Could you just talk about Ray Sean's transition back to running back?
Yeah, just a special kid who did whatever we asked of him for the team. Wasn't getting a ton of carries the first couple games and really ignited our offense. He had a 37-yard touchdown right at the end of the first quarter. I believe it was a 90-yard touchdown. Then right back to Ray Sean with another 78-yard run. So he's got that home run ability, and really the main goal always was get the ball in his hand and in space. And so tried to do it at receiver. We had some really good receivers, so we moved it back to the backfield and felt like that was the best opportunity to get him in space. And now just hopefully we could build on that and take some carries. He took some carries off Malik. Malik didn't have 32 carries like he did last week. So it's we got a nice 1-2 punch and really 3 and 4 because that backfield's pretty deep.
Well, when it comes to taking away carries, are you thinking you'll see him have more? I think 6 or 8. I think by all he had last week.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how the game's going and what the defense is going to give us. We'll take whatever they give us and try to take advantage of it. So I mean he's one of our playmakers, so he'll definitely be seeing touches. I mean how many touches did you have last game? 8.
7, 8.
8, I think 8. So trying to get him that dozen range will probably be good for him and Malik. And Malik obviously has been carrying the ball more than he has in the past. So.
And Malik kind of maybe I just noticed it when it wasn't really happening. What did Malik kind of did you go away from him a little bit in that first half?
I don't know. I think he had 10 carries for 75 yards at half. That's out. That I mean that's on pace for 20 and 150. So I don't think so. I mean, I think any back would be happy with 20 carries and 150 yards. So I think we actually gave him the ball less in the second half.
All right.
Hey Patrick, you talk about how you stay positive. What is it that keeps you positive in times that it might be easy to turn negative?
Just coming to the sideline and everybody, like, even after the interceptions, it was like, it's cool, just like let it go, next play. So just being able to go to the sideline and knowing everybody that's still behind you pretty much.
Coach, is it kind of same for you in those times, maybe at the beginning of the game when things may not be looking your way? How do you redirect and
I mean, we talk about responding too much probably, so we kind of expect bad things to happen at some point, and we got to stay positive. We got a team that believes that no matter what happens, we got a chance to win. So as long as we stay together, at the end of the game, if we win or lose, I feel like going forward we're going to be a better team for it. So we preach being united all the time. So if we start turning on each other, that's when we're going to start having issues.
Now, when it comes to the rough second half for the defense, even rough second half for the offense, are you still looking for a complete game out of your players, or is that just football and you're gonna experience those dips and valleys?
I mean, I think you are going to experience those dips and valleys, but if you ever put a perfect game together, I mean, that's when you blow teams out. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind one of those this week, but we expect ups and downs. I mean, that's football, that's life, and you got to kind of roll with the punches and come through it stronger. So, hopefully, we could put one of those games together. I mean, that's always the goal. We're not trying to have patches where we're not good on offense and defense. We're trying to be good all the time, but like I said, hopefully we get one of those games put together.
Now, I don't know much about the Montana defense. Where do you kind of go over them with us? And
They're the Montana defense that they always have. They got a very good D-line, linebackers that are very active. They got two corners out there that are good press corners. They got a tremendous safety, one of the best safeties in the league this year. And then that 37 jersey that gets passed around, they don't give it to anybody for any reason. So that guy's a special player. So they're deep, they're fast, and it's gonna be a physical game. And like I said, there's gonna be a lot of big plays played. Our offense goes fast, their offense goes fast. So it could be a long one in Missoula.
so do you ever look at they just played Cal Poly and how Cal Poly their triple option really did seem to work? You ever hey, maybe we should associate any of that?
Yeah, we're not good like Cal Poly. Cal Poly, that's a different beast. They had 500 yards on us last year, so I don't think anybody can emulate that.
Hey Coach, what's your relationship like with Coach Stitt?
I don't know Coach Stitt as well. We had dinner at the Big Sky Media Days, but I don't know him very well. We're both kind of new, and so I don't know, a little awkward moments probably at the Big Sky. I don't know him very much. I actually rode in the back of the car with him, so it was good to talk. I know his offense is known around the country for his style of offense. He kind of made that thing famous. So when we were sitting in the back of the car, he was explaining why he does certain things. So very intelligent guy, but I don't know him personally too much.
Cool. Anything else? Great. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
open it up for questions.
You know, we keep saying that, but I don't know what an opening statement is. What am I supposed to talk about?
We can, if you don't want to recap the last game, we can just preview this weekend's games.
I don't mind recapping the last game. Last game was NAU, and they're the top pick in the conference. And right now they're playing pretty good. I don't really think they were as good as they were last year, but we just kind of haven't figured out us yet. I don't know if we will this year. But we came out really hard against them. We just can't maintain it. So that's the fun recap.
Preview.
Weber State is 10-1 at the moment. So they're going to come in here with confidence. They can come get us. We got them both times last year, and Jeremiah, the coach, and I are friends, so I'm sure that he wants this one because he was really quite upset about last year. We're going to go do our best and see what happens.
Shannon, is it any different with Weber State, these kind of rivalries? Does that bring a different motivation or energy to you or to the team heading into these games?
I think to me it just brings more of a competitive nature. I don't know, I think that knowing that they're kind of our in-state rival, I want to play harder and smarter so that we can win. I think it's just, we have to prepare like any other game too, but it brings a little bit more excitement, I think, because the win is a little bit more exciting.
It seems from my perspective last game you managed to have really high energy and enthusiasm and really be a leader on the team when you know there are times it would be easy to get down or throw in the towel. How do you try to like relay that to your teammates and your other players and keep them motivated when it might be easy not to be?
I just think for me that it's a lot more fun environment for everyone if it stays positive. I know that it gets really hard when it gets negative, and when you're losing it's a lot easier to be negative, but it's not going to help anything. Like, staying positive is the only way that everyone's going to keep their confidence up and keep wanting to do good things in order to win. So I just think that it's important to stay positive no matter if things aren't rolling your way.
Coach, what about you? I know in the past you've talked about how positive your players have managed to stay. Did you feel that way over the weekend as well?
Well, Shannon doesn't count because she's just always that way. It's ridiculous. You know, that's not really our issue. For a team that's not winning, this team has not bickered, not had a problem. Behind the stages, or behind the scenes, I'm sure that people aren't happy. But it hasn't manifested itself the way I've seen it in other programs when these kinds of things happen. So I'm really kind of proud of the fact that they just kind of keep chugging along. That's not our problem. We're going to sit Mackie Fafita. Well, we're not going to sit her. She's going to play back row. She's not going to go front row anymore because she's having an MRI, and so she's essentially down for the rest of the season, just playing back row. So we have 3 freshmen on the floor. Shannon's going to play out of position and play the left. Ann's going to hit the left, and that's out of position. That's the problem. Is we don't have the healthy bodies to play this game this year. We were just talking about all the things that we had no control over. We lost our starting setter from last year, who decided that she wanted to go home. And we didn't know that Mackie was going to come in with such a bad knee problem. And we thought that our other outside would be able to play, and she's out for the season. And things that none of us foresaw have just killed us. And yet, these guys just keep plugging away. We had a great practice yesterday, absolutely great. And we have it in us to win matches. But for us to win matches, I mean, it all has to go so well. I mean, all 6 people have to kind of be on their A game if anybody's down, because our margin for error is so slim. So.
Rightfully so. There are obviously a lot of like nerves on the team, especially with when you have so many freshmen. It's such a huge transition from high school. Do you see that? Are they becoming more relaxed, some of these new freshman players, as games go on, or how do you coach that?
You know, Sarah Vang has been making really great strides since the day she showed up. I mean, she's a much better player right now than the first day of practice. And so that was kind of interesting to watch. But as a whole, the problem is 2 of our freshmen are playing outside positions, and it's the hardest position to play in volleyball as a freshman. it's easy to play as a middle blocker. It's all work ethic. You don't have to wait for a high set knowing that the entire defense is set up for you kind of thing. And setters, they tend to overthink because they're trying to figure out who I'm setting on what play and when and how. And so, yeah, one of our problems is we have 3 freshmen starting in there in the 3 hard spots, you know. Moving Shannon to the left was fine because, you know, she's a senior, she's been around the block, it's not a problem. But for everybody else, yeah, it's a transition.
Shannon, you've obviously been there, done that, being the new kid, timid and nervous. What do you tell your teammates as far as trying to get them to just relax and play confident?
I think the most thing that I tell them is that I just have to encourage them a lot. Like if they make a mistake or something like that, I just say, hey, no, you got the next one. Because that was always comforting for me to hear, like, upperclassmen, like, just have their trust in you. And I tell them that I trust them a lot and that, like, I know that they're going to do good. Because I think that them knowing that they have our trust, the upperclassmen's trust, because we need them. Without them, we can't win. And we know that they have the ability to do it. So I think that just giving them reassurance that they're doing the right things and that the things that they can work on. I also know that Sarah Bank has kind of moved to the position I used to play, so I've been trying to help her, like, with little things that I learned, just to, like, give her confidence and help her know that she can do the things that she's capable of doing. So.
And do you see it progressing and getting better?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they're getting more confident in themselves, which is what we need. So.
Coach, what are your biggest focuses heading into this weekend?
You know, I don't know that anything changes. It's the same thing. You have to realize that with freshmen, when they make a mistake, they were all the star players on their high school teams, and they were all the stars on their club teams. And they're being coached by high school coaches who are also math teachers, and, you know, their career is not just volleyball. And so they're not used to getting, you know, that's the wrong way to do it. Let's change. Change is hard. And so one of the things that we have fought all year is trying to get them to make changes. And it's not really their fault. That's the way they've been programmed for the last 6 years. And it just takes a while to make those changes. If we do anything, that's what we're staying on. But for the most part, just trying to be upbeat and attack.
What are you guys looking to improve from the last game to Weaver?
I'm looking for, like, better consistency. I think that we came out pretty strong the first game, and then it kind of died, right? We would make a few mistakes in a row, and then the energy would really die, and we would make more mistakes. So I think that for me, I just want us to stay more consistent and stay playing hard the entire time and not let the other team go on point runs.
It's kind of been our MO to play tough, and then when somebody pulls away from us, it's been more of us making mistakes than them earning points. You know, all of a sudden we'll hit 2 balls in a row out of bounds, and that's a 3-point swing kind of thing. Or something else, what we call unforced errors, the same as they do in tennis, you know. I mean, we talk to the girls about, if you get blocked, that's okay because you're aiming at the court, but if you launch a ball into the stands, that's an unforced error. And we have a little bit of a tendency to do that and shoot ourselves in the foot, but that's youth and inexperience.
Just getting rid of those unforced errors.
Mm-hmm.
Coach recapped the last game. What would you say was the recap? Like, what were your overall thoughts and feelings for the last game?
I thought that it was, well, we came out strong, like I said before. I think that we just need to, like he's saying, fix a few unforced errors and just stay confident in ourselves. And I know that we just need to keep staying positive. And I think that for me, I felt like when points came down to, like, make or break, we kind of need to attack more. I don't think we were very aggressive in those points. I think we kind of folded in a few points where we needed to be more aggressive. So I think that if we can just work on that too. But I think overall it was a pretty good game against the team who's picked to win the whole thing. So.
Is it any different for either of you playing at home versus being on the road? Does that add more fire, motivation, or?
For me, I like playing at home a lot more. I think that it's nice to have, see familiar faces and stuff and be able to play in a place that you've practiced the whole time. Like the gym's just more comfortable to me. So I personally like playing at home more, and I think that the crowd brings a good environment because they're all cheering for you and getting excited over things you do. So I think that it brings a good environment, and I like playing at home more.
Coach, do you notice a difference?
I never have, which is weird because well, my teams have traditionally been better on the road, just a little bit. And I don't know why, but you know, if you've seen the movie Hoosiers, you know, the hoop is 10 feet in the big arena and the little arena. And our court is the same size, so I don't see any difference to it. And I was always a player that, if you're cheering for me, that's great. If you're cheering against me, it sounds like you're cheering for me because I'm just that way, you know. Oh, thanks. I'll take that boo. You know, so it doesn't matter.
Cool. Anything else? Great. Thank you
Yay.
guys.
Thanks.
With an opening statement, maybe a little recap and preview, and then we can open up for questions.
Cool. So, where are you going?
Do you want another chair?
No, you're okay. So, Friday we had a Sac State. I think we gave them a little too much credit, and I think that the system that they played is something that we don't typically see. They played like a 3-5-2, and the numbers that they had in the middle kind of negated our strength, which is our midfielders, and we, thought we'd be okay with that, having played it against it in practice the week before, and obviously underestimated just how difficult that would be. And so I think that was kind of a tactical adjustment that we needed to look at a little bit more carefully. And so moving forward, we'll make sure that we kind of look at those types of things just a little more carefully, and maybe plan for them a little bit better, because it was jam-packed in the middle.
Yeah.
There was just no way to play through them, and they're very organized. They're historically a really good defensive team, and they haven't given up a goal in a really long time. So anyway, so that game was just a little bit disappointing, just from like a preparation standpoint, like from my perspective. I thought the kids played great. There were stretches where we played really, really, really well, and the 2-goal, is a little misleading, because I thought that they were both a little on the sloppy side. Obviously, you have the one that was savable, and then the second one I thought could have been done a little bit better. So we'll fix all that stuff this week. And then Portland State on Sunday was a great turnaround. We played some just super soccer, really exceptional. A lot of kids really stepped up. We've had some kind of injuries and different things, and we're trying to protect some players. So we dropped Shelby back into the midfield. Bree was sick. Abby was a little dinged up, so we dropped her back into kind of that original spot for her, and she played lights out. So I thought that she played really well. Obviously Peyton played just really, really exceptional, and she's been playing that at that high level, but on Sunday, it resulted in goals, so that was kind of nice to see, because she's been working very, very hard. But so played really great. Some of their goals were a little unfortunate too. The high ball was obviously something that we don't like to see, and kind of necessitated a change at halftime for our goalkeepers, and we'll kind of move forward with that. And I think we've established Destiny's gonna be our starter from here on out, so that was kind of nice to get that off the plate, because that's been a little bit back and forth. And so I think that might help our defense too, to kind of solidify like who's behind them. And I think moving forward, that'll help us not make as many mistakes in the back, just having like a consistent presence back there. So I think that's gonna be a really important change. And then just excited for Weber, kind of that in-state rivalry, and there's always a lot on the line, and no matter like what happens, it's kind of like you got to bring your A game. So it should be a really good matchup. And we'll come on the tail end of they'll play on Friday. We get a day off, and we'll play them Sunday. So I think that kind of works to our favor, obviously. But we can't get too overconfident about that. I think that's a mind trick that you could kind of lull yourself into a false sense of superiority, and they could bite you. So we're gonna have to come out guns blazing.
This past couple of games, maybe it's just me, and we're playing home games and I'm sitting right there, but they seemed a little more physical from the other teams, starting with Dixie. And what kind of game plan does that bring against a more physical team? I'm sure Weaver, I don't know if they're physical or not, but just being an in-state rival, conference rival game, is probably bound to be more emotional, physical.
Yeah, historically the Big Sky is a really physical kind of conference. So we've played a lot of teams that kind of tried to help set us up for that. Riverside, extremely physical. Dixie, extremely physical. So we tried to kind of get that set up with our preseason games. Weber State historically is not, they don't play a physical style, but we try to impose that on the game because it really throws them off their rhythm. They're a rhythm team. They like to pass the ball, move it, slow everything down, and so our physicality and our athleticism, if we ramp that up, then it tends to give them problems, and it has in the past. So I would expect that's going to be the game plan. And it's not something we really need to talk about. Just like I said, on the emotional side of it, the players will come out ready to play. So I think that's always been disruptive for Weber. And it's fun to watch. I think for the fans it's more fun when people are flying around and making tackles and playing aggressive than if you're sitting back. It's like a basketball game, right? Nobody wants to see 55 to 55. He'd rather see 110 to 102. So I think it's kind of the same idea where you have to fly around and be aggressive and athletic.
Peyton, what does the in-state rivalry, conference rivalry bring to you guys from a player's perspective?
Well, a lot of girls on the team know a lot of girls on Weaver, so that definitely elevates the game. I personally don't know anyone up there, so I just kind of play like any other game, but it definitely brings up the physicality, and you really want to win this game. So I think we've got a good chance, so I'm not worried at all.
Okay, there's 8 more games left, and you've already matched your goal total from last year. What kind of changed for you this year?
Hey, that's good. I moved back into the midfield this year, and I'm really enjoying getting the ball a lot more. I feel like I'm making more of an impact on the game. So I'm just really working on, I like playing the ball up to Allie in the forward because I know she's going to wrap around that corner and get the ball in. It's just really working for us, and I think we're looking good.
And over the weekend, Sac scored on you twice in the first 15, and then against Portland State, you did that to them. Was it kind of nice to return the punch, even though it wasn't the same team?
Yeah, usually we don't score that fast, so it's kind of like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. It's pretty great. But yeah, it's good to be up 1-0 in the first couple minutes. It gives you that elevated mood, and you get to go the rest of the game.
What was the difference between those two games?
I really couldn't tell you. It was kind of a shock when they scored on us in under a minute. Like, that shouldn't happen at all. It's just little mistakes that can lead up, and you never know when that mistake is going to happen. You have to always be prepared for whenever, like, we made one mistake in the midfield, I think, is when that goal, led up, and we couldn't clear the ball in the back, and so we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Coach, from a coaching perspective, when your team goes down 2-0, what can you say to them at that point? What do you say to them?
I think that you don't have to say much, right? Because everybody knows how terrible it was to get scored on in 50 seconds. All you're going to do is beat a dead horse if you, kind of come out and say that. Like, what are you going to say at halftime? Don't let that happen again. That's kind of the everybody's not going to let that happen again. So I think it's just you got to kind of focus on how are we going to overcome that? Like, how are we going to, score goals to overcome that? And I thought our changes at halftime were really, really good. We put them under a lot of pressure. We tried to bypass their midfield a little bit. And I think it was working. For the most part, we just struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. Like I said, they're super organized defensively, and it just was like we couldn't quite break through that. And we were knocking on the door though the whole half. I thought that we had a really good second half. It's just unfortunate when you give up just really sloppy goals. It's deflating, and in soccer, it's so hard to score anyway that you can't just give somebody a goal. In the Big Sky too, you can look across the scoreboard for everybody, and a lot of games are decided by one goal, so you can't put yourself in that kind of hole, and it's hard to score goals. So to score 3 goals against Portland State was really good for us, and to get that early one was especially nice because that's the advantage that you need. And look what it did in the Sac State game. Puts us on our heels. You're in your own head. You're starting to play a little bit different than you want to play. So we were able to do that to Portland State, and it's that's that's kind of the tale of the two games. It's just that early goal makes a huge difference. So we're just gonna do that from now on.
Definitely.
Love it.
That'll be the game plan.
Last 3 games against Weaver have been 2-1. What's the chances of that happening again?
I mean, shoot, it's luckily some of those worked out in our favor. But you know, last year they scored. Gosh, I want to say it was with 2 minutes left, under 2 minutes. Same thing, you know, just an error. They have the ball on the flank. Emily Bowles dives in. They serve it to the back post. Rose not marking. You know, close enough. Girl buries a one-time shot that she'll make 3 out of 10 times. I mean, Stacey Bear is a super talented player, but she'll never make that. And you know what? She's gone, so I'm not worried about her scoring that goal with 2 minutes left. They lost their best player in the history of the program, Chancey. Crompton is out with a season-ending injury. You know, and that's another thing that we can't look at and be like, oh, good, you know, she's out of the game, because they have a really talented freshman group. You know, Reagan Youngblood, like Paige, like they have a really good little group of freshmen. But that's the thing is, if we impose our will in the game early, freshmen aren't quite ready to handle that yet. You know, so if you do get an early goal or the physicality is something they're not expecting, that's when you can, you know, kind of elevate your game. But like Bree Sims played with a lot of those kids, and so she should be well by Sunday, and hopefully she comes out with a little bit of something to prove. But yeah, those games are always going to be close. Anything that's emotional, like we said before, in the Dixie State game, emotion negates a lot of your advantages. So we have to just try and stay kind of even keel, not too confident, just take the game real serious.
I haven't been here in years past, but it sounds like and looks like the crowd and atmosphere is a lot more energized and just a lot more people showing up as far as fans goes to the games. For either of you, I guess, does that play in, or does that give you a little extra boost of motivation?
Yeah, it's always good to have the crowd behind you. Usually we travel and we're definitely outnumbered for sure. But it's nice to have Thor's Army there cheering you on with the trombone or whatever else they have over there making noise. It always definitely brings the other team down and it helps us.
What do you think's been different this year that's brought that crowd in?
I think, like, you know, we've worked really hard for the whole time I've been here. You know, it's, you know, assistant coaches getting out at 8 in the morning and putting up signs and free clinics on free clinics and just really trying to plug in with the community. We do a lot of preseason meals with people to get people to kind of turn the tides and become soccer fans. And I think that we've put out a good product. We play actual soccer, you know, so all the purists are, you know, really enjoying how we play, and people can see that we're much better. And so I think you just kind of have started to build that loyal fan base. And now with like Jason and Andrew and those guys and Nick Bartlett and the initiative to like kind of elevate us across the board as like a D1 institution is, you know, they're putting more money into advertising. They're doing a better job, you know, with reaching out, you know, to the kind of that upper echelon, and that trickles down. So I think that's been really good. And Casey's done a really good job. Casey Barnes has done a good job, like getting out to international groups, to meet with the RAs, to meet with, you know, student groups on campus. SUSA's been awesome. You know, they bring out the drums, they bring out their people. They're the ones that are packing the Thor's Army. So it's just been kind of a lot of people, you know, invested in making, you know, sports across the board like a better experience. So I don't know, I just think that, you know, we laid a really good groundwork with our staff and we took it as far as we could. And then now you've had the administration step in and like really try and help, you know, boost us that way too. So I think it's a culmination of everybody just, you know, putting in a little bit more effort. It's exciting though, man. I mean, we had like 400 plus people. It's loud. I think it helps, you know, you're at the end of the game. Like last week, you know, Logan's there 3 minutes and people are just screaming and cheering and you just feel the energy, and I think that helps. I mean, if you can hear a pin drop, you know, it's hard because you have to manifest all that excitement on your own. But if it's coming from like an outside source, not that should help, but we're all human, you know, so it does help to have people, you know, cheering for you and like wanting it as bad as you do. You know, you don't want to let them down. So I think it's a nice little extra bonus.
Mm-hmm. Logan's now had 2 game-winning goals. She's obviously been very clutch for you guys this season. Mm-hmm. What do you attribute that to as far as Logan goes?
She's a winner.
Sure is.
She's 100% winner. I mean, the kid would die to win a game. She's so hard on herself. She's the one that's always standing at the end of practice. You know, she'll just grab a bag of balls, you know, and we'll stay for a minute, and then she'll just, you know, keep going. You know, she'll go for, I mean, who knows how long, and just work on stuff. Like I said, she's super hard on herself. But man, she wants to win. It was the end of the I don't even remember which game it was, but there was like a throw in, and she is just like, play me the ball, and she had 2 people on her, and she's holding them both off, and just on her face, you can just tell, and whoever threw it in was like, okay, like just like threw it to her, like there was no question, like okay, I'm just gonna do whatever you say, but she's so clutch, and if you look back over the years, she scored a ton of game winners, you know, Weber State like 2 years ago. I mean, she's an unstoppable force. She's physical, and she's just she's a winner, 100% winner. So yeah, I love that kid.
Anything else? Sweet.
Coop, got anything?
Thank you. Anything,
you.
little man?
Nothing. Just a little flash, little belly. Good job. Show a little scan.
Coach, if you'd like to start with an opening statement, kind of recapping last weekend, and maybe a little preview of your next one, and then we'll open it up for questions.
All right, cool. So this last weekend we were at Roy Griak in Minnesota. It's year in and year out one of the biggest invites across the country. Very prestigious, and just a really fun meet to go to. Our men took 8th. Slightly disappointing. Considering we feel like we were primed to run a good race. We still had some great performances, like with Casey and Aiden, and a few others. And then our girls were, I believe, 21st, which, in a big field like that was, with the number of ranked teams that there were, was actually really impressive. Last year, we were second to last, and basically, we had girls crawling across the line. So really, it's just a night and day difference between last year's team on the girls' side and this year's team. And the guys, I think, all things considered, when you take a look at it, we still ran a great race. There was 11 teams that were ranked or receiving votes, so to get 8th, still says we're right in there, right where we need to be. And then this upcoming weekend, the men head out tomorrow to Notre Dame for another very big and very prestigious invite. With a lot of great teams there, and our women will be heading to Sacramento racing on Saturday, which will be a good one. It's going to be the West Regional meets there this year, so there's going to be a lot of California schools and a lot of West Coast schools that will match up pretty well with our girls and give them an opportunity to see some more good competition.
Paul, when you look at the times for the men's side, you had 2 guys finish in the top 10, both of which were underclassmen. As a coaching staff, how big of a positive is that?
Honestly, it's huge. When you look at the results, the second sophomore, and I still haven't had a chance to really double check on the other sophomore, but the second sophomore is Casey. The other sophomore might have been a redshirt sophomore, so technically a junior. So Casey's a true sophomore out there, finishing 9th in a deep field with a lot of guys who have been All-Americans, who have gone sub-14 in the 5K. Guys who are like 4-minute low, sub 4-minute milers. And then you have Aiden Reed, who's the first freshman across the line, true freshman or redshirt freshman. And that course, I told Aiden all week, that's his kind of course. Aiden he's a hill runner, he's a mountain runner. He's just a straight goat when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like he'll run up and down a mountain all day long. That's just his style. So to watch him and Casey finish kind of side by side almost in that race really bodes well for our future. And not only that, but you look at our entire roster, 9 guys traveled, 1 senior, 1 junior, a couple of sophomores and a freshman or 2 in there. I think we're good for the future. I mean, I think we're good now, but I think a year from now we're just kind of showing where we're at.
Casey, kind of just take us through the race a little bit. I mean, just how did it feel for you, and to have Aiden right there behind you near the end?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough race, to be honest. There was a lot of mud on the course. It was been raining quite a bit in Minnesota, so it was definitely a sloppy course. And it was good. Just we didn't have any guys just fall or get trampled or anything. But yeah, it was it's a pretty narrow course, a lot of guys on it, so getting out was pretty important. And just got out hard. Then found a teammate. Originally, I found Josh. We were just running side by side, talking to each other, keeping each other calm and focused. And then I found Aiden, and we kind of helped each other a lot the last like 2-3K. I'd catch up to him and say, hey, I'm right here. Stay relaxed. We got this. Or I'd pull ahead, and he'd catch up to me. He's like, hey, let's go. Come on. Put in a surge. So definitely helps a lot running with your teammates. But all in all, I think it was a pretty challenging course. But I think we worked through it pretty well.
How much do you guys talk during a race?
Not a lot because you're running pretty hard. So it's pretty challenging to breathe, but if you can kind of pull up alongside of your teammate and you can tell he's like nervous or like scared or something, you can say, hey man, I'm here. Then it kind of helps a little bit just to have a quick conversation like that.
So for you, you win the first race you compete in this season, top 10 finish here. I mean, is that kind of the expectation now moving forward the rest of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to do as best I can to help the team out, score as least amount of points as possible, but just coming to every race confident, knowing that I can kind of compete with the top guys. Like Paul said, there was a lot of, sub 4 minute milers, sub 14 minute 5K runners, sub 29, 30, 10K runners in that field. So it was definitely a deep field full of really talented people, all Americans in cross country. So to kind of brush shoulders with them kind of just gives me a little confidence coming to the next race, saying, hey, I don't have to be afraid of anyone. I can kind of just go out there and run.
And go ahead.
Coach, you said that the 8th place finish was kind of a disappointment on the men's side. Why is that?
It's a disappointment, but it's not a disappointment. It's a slight disappointment because we expect ourselves to do better. I guess that's kind of where we're at now in this program is we've been to nationals 2 years in a row. The last 2 years at GRIAC, we were first and second. So I think the expectation is we go out there to win it. It's slightly disappointing because a few of our guys just had rough races. I mean, Josh Collins, who's normally right next to Casey and ahead of Aiden, was our 7th man. The kid kind of puked up and coughed up some blood after the race. I mean, there's things you can change and things you can't change. And then I think a few of our guys, I think with the way the course was this year, with how muddy it was with the rain, like Casey was talking about, and how kind of narrow it can be with as many guys as there were, I think a few of our guys kind of started out a little bit slower than they thought they had started out. And with that narrow course, you can't really maneuver as much because, it's like a roller derby sometimes when you're on a deep course like that, and it's got some twists and some turns, and with the mud, it makes it tough to maneuver. And so I think a few of our guys started further back than they probably could have. And we've talked to them about it since, and they kind of even said, like, yeah, I thought I was in the right spot, and I didn't realize until it was 5K and I only had 3K to go, but the front pack had left. So I really think, we plug in our guys where we could have been. Hey, we were probably top 3, which I think is a reasonable finish. But I think they're all motivated for this weekend now, and they know what they need to work on and fix for Notre Dame and Wisconsin coming up. So, yeah, disappointing in a sense. Are we going to move on from it? Yeah. You live and you learn. We're a tough team. We're a young team, but we're very good. So.
Do you feel like that invitational doesn't really show the true colors of your men's team?
I think it shows a little bit of our colors. If we're red, black, and white, we showed red and black, but not fully the third color there because we didn't hand it all out. Because like I said, we had 2 guys probably not live up to their expectations, just with kind of the sickness and stuff. And I think we're going to bounce back this weekend. I think they're motivated. They've looked good the last couple of days since getting back, and I think it's going to be a different story this weekend. I think they're gonna come out fired up.
Coach Huel has talked about being one of the top teams in the nation. Does this invitational kind of make you reassess where you guys are at, or do you guys still believe that?
No, we still believe it. I think, like I said, after talking to the guys the last couple of days, we still believe it. We know where we finished on Saturday, and like I said, one guy who's normally our top two with Casey, top 3 with him and Aiden, we plug him at about 15th. We're 3rd in that race. I mean, that's how much of a difference there was. So I mean, it hurts when one of your guys gets sick and a few guys kind of maybe like get out a little bit slower than they could have. I think that just shows like, hey, we still finished 8th in a stacked field. I mean, there's teams that are regionally ranked high in their region. There's teams that were nationally ranked way ahead of us in that top 15 that we beat on Saturday. So I think we're still right where we want to be. We just have a few things to work on, and you know, it's stuff we've talked about this week so far and since Saturday. And like I said, you know, we're motivated even more so now than we were, I think, before. I think it was a good little kind of wake up for us. Like, okay, we got some things we got to still work on. But I mean, we took 3 weeks off in between Utah State and here, so sometimes it's a little bit of a rust buster, kind of thinking, how do I get out fast and get out with this front pack? Now that we got that under our belt, we just move forward. I mean, we're always a team that runs better mid to late season than we are at the beginning of the season. So I think we're still right where we want to be, and we just keep putting in the work, and we'll get where we want to be at the end of the season.
Andrew, your performance in Minnesota as a team was good enough to move you up 3 spots in the Mountain region. Just kind of take us through it, how it felt from your perspective.
It's kind of strange being in like a really, really big race where there's so many good teams, and we finished a lot higher than last year, and there were more teams than there were last year. But it's kind of strange to finish like that low in a race and still move up, and it just like reminds us that the competition there's crazy, and so like regionally we will be a lot better, which is good. And I think we had a couple girls had like pretty strong performances, but there were also a few girls that didn't run as well as I think that we can. So it'll be good to see like once everyone has a really strong race where we can be. Looking at
the freshmen on the team, you've got a bunch of them, a couple. How do you feel like they adapted to their first, big race?
I think there were a couple that, well, I guess we had what, 2? We had 2 there?
Three freshmen, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty solid race. It's a big field, and I think we were all a little bit nervous, and especially with how muddy it was, I think that might have thrown us off a little bit, but I think it was good to be able to get such a big race under our belts, and then going into these next couple races, I think we'll have a lot more confidence and be able to build more confidence as well.
You individually had a really impressive race. Just how did it feel out there?
I didn't do quite as well as I wanted to, but I feel like it was still a pretty consistent race. I think I have a lot more potential than how I ran, but it was a good finish, and it was good to be able to finish faster than last year because it's a race that we go to every year, so you can kind of compare how you're doing. And so I did finish faster than last year, but I would have liked to have been higher than I was.
Paul, as a coach, how do you prepare the freshmen for running in such a packed and gigantic field?
You can only say so much and sometimes hope for the best. I mean, I think Aiden is one. He's just, if you talk to Aiden, he's just he's there. He's a sharp kid. And so I think racing doesn't faze him. Some freshmen, they get big, wide eyes and like, oh my gosh, I'm standing next to Michigan on the starting line. Oh my gosh, I'm standing next to an All-American. What do I do? Like, they wet themselves a little bit and then they race. And you kind of just hope for the best. I really do think all of our freshmen performed well this weekend. It is tough to go from one year you're the top of the pack in your state meet and maybe in that like NXN or Foot Locker, and then the next year everyone was that All-American in high school that you're running against. And now you're running against those sub 4:45 miler girls, those sub 16-minute 5K girls, or those sub 4-minute guys and everything. And so sometimes it is really nerve-wracking, but I think our freshmen, all of them, guys and girls, are very they're studs in the fact that they kind of look and they go, okay, this is a tough field, but I'm going to go out there, I'm going to run my race, and hopefully it goes the way I want it to. I think it's a good eye-opener, but now it's going forward, none of these races are going to be, especially on the girls' side, are as big as GRIAC. We're not going to see that many teams again the rest of the year. So I think for our girls, it's going to be a real confidence booster, because now it's going to be like our places as a team we're going to be higher up there, because I think we're going to compare a little bit better. I mean, like I said, it was a very deep women's field at GRIAC. So you have, I mean, girls who were, I mean, you had numerous All-Americans on that starting line. So to watch like a girl like Angie being up there and fighting throughout that race, and Angie moved up extremely well. Like when you look at where she was at like the 2K, like the splits throughout the race, she moved up extremely well, better than a lot of those other girls in the race. So really, I mean, I think our girls did a very good job. I think a little bit is kind of learning how to get out a little bit quicker. And they'll get that. You know, they're young. We have a young women's team too. We had, again, one senior there. So we returned pretty much this entire team for next year, which is great. So I think they're just going to keep moving forward. And, you know, when we get to that conference meet where it's a little bit smaller field, I think they're going to have a really big performance and be right up there, you know, fighting for that top three spot. So great improvement from, we were 9th last year, 10th last year, and the year before, they're kind of the same thing. I think it just shows a lot of, you know, it's a very good statement to like what Angie and like another, like a girl like Charlie have done as leaders of this team, is they've stepped up and said, hey, we need to change who we are, and we need to go out there and you know, be a tougher team. You know, we need to put ourselves in the position to be great runners. And because they've done that, they've pulled the freshmen along with them. And now we're seeing kind of the fruits of that in like that maturity of these young ladies, which we still have a couple of years with them, which is awesome. So I think it's just going to keep moving forward, you know, each year from here on out.
So, Angie, what are your expectations for Sacramento? And then Casey, same question to you about Notre Dame.
It's a little bit smaller of a meet, so it'll be good to be able to place higher. It's a 5K, and from what I've heard, it's a pretty fast course. Is that what it sounds like?
Really flat, really fast.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a really good confidence booster for us to see ourselves higher up in the results. And there will still be competitive teams there, but it'll be nice to be able to hold our own.
Yeah, for Notre Dame, our guys are strong, and I think it's a course that's going to suit us a lot better. We do have a strong middle distance influence on a cross country team. You know, we got guys like George that's, you know, sub 115, 800 that don't quite do as well on, you know, sloppy, hilly courses. So we're gonna have a fast, flatter course that I think it's gonna be a lot better for our team. So, I mean, coming into it, there's no reason why we can't think we can come into this and, you know, be a top 3 team. I think we were 4th last year, but I mean, there's gonna be great teams there that we can score those Colos points against. You know, kind of redeem ourselves just a little bit, but I have high aspirations for this race for sure. I think we can do really well.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sweet, thanks guys.
Thanks.